Thank you for listening to this Podcast One production, available on Apple Podcasts and Podcast One.
There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome. You're tuned in to the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. That cuddly guy over there, that's Tim Dennis at the Supernatural News Desk. Today, it's your chance to shine, people. We want to hear from you, and as a matter of fact, we want to hear from you every week. We're getting calls. I like that, but I want more calls because I'm a greedy bastard, Tim. 651 300-4977. 651-300-4977 is the phone number to call. Leave your personal supernatural story there. You can call in, leave your voicemail, and tell us your story. We'd love to hear it. All right. Speaking of stories, Tim, I need to tell you that I proved you wrong this last week. I went to GalaxyCon here in Minnesota.
Okay.
And I was able to lead a panel discussion with Steve Whitmire, the voice of Kermit the Frog after Jim Henson died. And I clearly asked him, I said, Jim, Steve, that's how close we are.
Steve?
I've got to, I said, I want you to just close your eyes. I want you to imagine you're walking through the woods and you hear this voice. Hey, everybody, welcome to the woods. Who would that be? He said, well, Dave, that's obviously Bigfoot. And I said, okay, you're cast into hell, and suddenly from behind the pillar and plume of brimstone and fire, you hear, hey, everybody, how you doing? He goes, well, that's obviously Lucifer. You're dead on, dude. You sound exactly like Lucifer, exactly like Bigfoot. And I said, all right, so you're floating about in Loch Ness late at night by yourself in a dinghy. The water begins to stir. Something bursts forth, and you hear, hey, welcome to Loch Ness. He goes, God, it's Nessie. Dave, I can hear the voice. So you're wrong. Sounds nothing like Rolf the dog from the guy that does Rolf the dog, Tim.
Something tells me you might be exaggerating a little bit there, Dave.
I think you're wrong. I'm exaggerating a lot of bit.
Yeah.
That's all I got. But I did get to do a panel discussion with Steve Whitmire. That was so cool. That was impromptu. The people running it said, Dave, we don't have a panel director. Do you know anything about Kermit the Frog? I'm like, do I know anything about Kermit the Frog? Put me up there, coach. And we had a great time. And GalaxyCon was amazing. So many Darkness Radio listeners and fans and friends came up. It was great to meet you. People were approaching me on the floor at the conference before I even got on to do any of my talks, Tim. So it was nice to know that our friend base, I hate to call them fans because that always makes me feel icky, but our friend base out there was large and in charge. And it does my heart well because, Tim, we've been at this 13 years. Our room was packed. Packed, folks. I mean, literally, it was seated 120. We had 180 in there on our Saturday night. We were near capacity on Friday. And Sunday, you know Sunday, Tim. Sunday's a throwaway day. Nobody really shows up. It's Vikings football game day. And our room was about 85% filled. To give you an idea, I got to also host the X-Men panel with some of the brightest and best of the X-Men writers and artists, and they had 12 people show up to their room, 2 of which were my wife and daughter. Our room was packed. So thank you for showing up on Moss, and it was a big group. It wasn't always the same people. filling the room. There were a lot of new faces every time I turned around, so that was exciting too. So, yay, the paranormal, Tim.
Yay.
That's all I have to say. Yay, the paranormal. All right, speaking of the paranormal, it's time to take a look at supernatural news. Where shall we begin today, good sir?
Well, as if Florida weren't creepy enough, Dave, we're going to Tampa, where evidently not just the state itself is creepy, but now you can get yourself a little old creepy place and find out that there's little old creepy things below it that will make creepy old things happen in your apartment, Dave. It turns out that radar has found more than 120 coffins buried beneath a Tampa apartment complex. Yes, you too can now have little poltergeists floating around in your apartment, even if you didn't want them.
Yeah, this is straight out of the Poltergeist movie handbook.
Yep. I don't know if it's anybody's worst nightmare, but I would think it would come up in some people's top 10. I would think, yeah. The news brings residents of Robles Park Village to tears. It says, to tears! The place where they live was built on the site of long-forgotten Zion Cemetery. How does somebody forget there's a cemetery just...
I don't know.
Hanging around there, Dave. Just hanging around. We go to Tampa, where Zion Cemetery has been found. We didn't know that it ever would get lost. Sorry about that, Zion Cemetery. Ground-penetrating radar has detected what appears to be more than 120 coffins under an apartment complex in Tampa. The remains of the lost cemetery revealed by the Tampa Bay Times or Indiana Jones. You take your pick. The 2.5-acre segregation-era burial ground, well, that explains a little bit. Believed to be the city's first for African Americans, was established in 1901 along the 3700 block of Florida Avenue and extended back around 400 feet. It disappeared nearly a century ago when the land was parceled off for white developments. Oh, there's no sacrilegious activity going on here, is there? Yikes. The radar confirmed that Zion is still there, parts of it at least underground, that today is home to the back of the Robles Park Village public housing complex owned by the Tampa Bay Housing Authority. People who live there began learning the news on Friday. Clark Simmons, vice president of the Tenant Council, was brought to tears. Those people are still there, Simmons said. Jesus Christ. I don't think Jesus is there, but I get the point.
No. He usually takes off cemetery duty. He lets somebody else handle that.
Evidently, because there was a big slip-up. Huge slip-up. Archaeologist Eric Prendergast, he should have just named himself after Teddy Pendergrass. Would have been easier for all of us. Described the find, reflections of rectangular objects that are the size and shape of coffins between 4 and 6 feet in depth. Yeah, that would do it, Eric. That would do it.
But here's my question. So if they built these buildings on there, don't these buildings have to have basements or substructures? I'm not good with the words here, Tim. Don't they have to go down 4 to 6 feet at least?
No, not in the South, especially when you're that close to sea level. You don't tend to have sub basements in a lot of, especially these buildings. You don't. No. Prendergast is principal project investigator for private archaeological assessment company Cardno, hired by the Housing Authority to investigate whether occupied graves remain on its land. The reflections are arranged in rows and oriented east-west within boundaries for a former cemetery, Prendergast added. Asked if the shapes could show something other than caskets, Paul Jones, project manager for Cardno, replied, "That would be too big of a coincidence." I'll give him that.
Yeah.
The Times published a special report about the forgotten cemetery in June, prompting the Housing Authority to hire the archaeologists. During a 9-month search, the Times pieced together the cemetery's lost history but found no evidence of a mass reburial. In response to the report, the Housing Authority set up the Zion Cemetery Archaeological Consultation Committee with members from the authority of the city of Tampa, the NAACP, the Florida Public Archaeology Network at the University of South Florida, the Robles Park Apartments Residents Council, and Cardno. Cardno informed the committee at its meeting Friday that the caskets had been found. Like Simmons, Riva Iman, president of the Robles Park Village Tenants Council, wept as she walked out of the meeting room. Said Leroy Moore, the Housing Authority's chief operating officer, Zion isn't...
Bad Leroy Moore. Isn't that the song?
That's Leroy Brown. That's He's
yeah.
the baddest man in the whole damn town.
Leroy Moore, he wouldn't suffer pimps and whores. No. I remember that line from the song. Are you sure?
No. It's not even close. No. Leroy Moore, the Housing Authority's chief operating officer, said Zion is an active cemetery. For Yvette Lewis, president of the Hillsborough County NAACP, seeing the tears at the meeting diminished her satisfaction at finally knowing whether bodies remain on the site. She said this is due to white people hating black people. Overall, the archaeologists have discovered what they believe to be 126 caskets. That's a lot of caskets.
Holy Christmas.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, 126 overall, but there are likely more, according to the article. The radar cannot detect century-old human remains if they weren't buried in a coffin. It was typical in the early 1900s for poor African Americans to be buried in fabric shrouds, and old bones would be too deteriorated to appear on a scan. In addition, the portion of Robles Park Village, once home to Zion Cemetery, now has 5 apartment buildings on it. Radar cannot see through their floors. So there may be even more than just the 126.
Like Zoink Scoob.
Yeah. What's more, Cardno had access to less than 40% of the cemetery property, the portion owned by the Housing Authority. The rest is owned by restaurateur Richard Gansmart. Everywhere we have tested that one would assume has a burial has proven to have burials, Prendergast said. Therefore, we can predict the rest of the cemetery has burials unless they were removed. Gardno can't be certain, however, though without surveying the rest of the site. Gansmart's attorney, Jeff Shannon, told the Times via email Friday that next steps include meeting with those who have conducted the research. We will use all that we learn, Shannon said, to make thoughtful decisions for our company and for our community. Gansmart had planned to build a culinary school on the property to help low-income people work into profitable careers, but now that the property is known to be a previously marked cemetery, he will have to determine whether there are bodies there before he can build, said Jeff Moats, regional director for the Florida Public Archaeology Network. If human remains are found, Moats said, Gansmart could still build there, but not before moving them to a cemetery. The Housing Authority has said it will not remove any of the bodies. So there you go. I guess that's the Housing Authority's last word.
No bueno.
Yeah, when the agency redevelops Robles Park Village in the coming years, the Zion Cemetery land will be turned into a memorial park operated by the city. The park will still honor the pioneering African Americans that are buried there. The Housing Authority hopes Gansmart will add his property to the park. Relocation will begin soon for the people living the 5 Robles Park Village buildings that occupy the burial ground, all in the 200 block of East Stratford and East Kentucky Avenues. The authority needs to consider moving everyone who lives there sooner than planned, said COO Moore. All told, Robles Park Village is home to 1,118 people in 483 units across 67 buildings. That's no small feat.
Cow. This sounds like we're setting up the outline for the new Ghostbusters movie.
You would think. That's one hell of a haunting, I'll tell you that. The Times discovered death certificates for 382 people who were buried in Zion. A cemetery historian who conducted follow-up research said he found 747. Zion had room for some 800 graves, plus a potter's field for the indigent and unknown. The potter's field contained 27 of the caskets found by the archaeologist. In 1951, the Housing Authority unearthed 3 caskets during construction of Robles Park Village, but did not search for more. At the time, the apartment complex was open to whites only. Some bodies may have been moved through the years and others were left behind, the archaeologist said. It's possible that there are coffins without bodies, said Jones, the project manager. It is possible there are remains of coffins. It is possible that there are completely undisturbed coffins. We won't be able to answer anything definitively until the next step of the process. The next step would be ground truthing, or digging into the ground in a way that leaves the bodies undisturbed. The Housing Authority is considering how to proceed with their work.
Ground truthing.
Ground truthing.
All right. That's new.
That is a new one, yeah.
Yeah, ground truthing. All right. Where are we off to next, sir?
Next, we head to California, where a man has created an extraterrestrial rock art in his backyard in hopes of inviting aliens to his home. It's an interesting picture, Dave. It's very
it's beautifully done. I don't have that kind of artistic ability. I can't even draw stick figures that look like realistic stick figures.
It's interesting in that it takes up a lot of land.
That it does, but I think maybe we'll understand more as we read the story. Maybe just lots of time on his hands.
I guess so. A 77-year-old man in Romoland, California, said he and his family have created a massive alien face in his backyard in hopes that he'll invite aliens to his home. Work on the 60-foot by 90-foot rock garden started this past Monday and was finished by Thursday afternoon. That, according to Larry Decker, who said he's been fascinated by the idea of extraterrestrials nearly his entire whole life. Aliens watch everything we do, Decker told ABC News Today. My idea was to build this thing big enough to be seen from up there, and hopefully they'll decide to come down and check it out. He added
you think
that
they fly over and see it, and then they're like, what a bunch of racists, and they just take off?
Yeah. I mean, what if it's like gray alien blackface or something? I mean,
I don't know.
It could be totally turned off by the whole deal. He added that he has cameras set up around his house and that he hopes the rock art will attract UFOs that he can catch on video. Wouldn't it be nice to go to the porch swing and have a nice chat, Decker said. So hopefully this face will trick them to come so we can shake hands and talk.
Oh, hey, look down there. It seems like one of our brethren is laying on the ground staring up at us. Let us go land and say, that's not our brother. It's somebody made a painting on the ground.
But he thinks they're just going to be fooled by this?
I guess like a big old stupid gray alien trap.
Yeah. Maybe he would have been better off if he'd have made like a guy bent over with a finger pointing to the butt that says insert probe here.
Yeah, probe me.
That might have been more exciting.
Yeah, big old sign that says probe me. Yeah.
They're probably, aliens just heard that and probably think I'm racist.
Well, or you engage the stereotype, yeah.
Yeah. Well, stop digging around in people's buttholes and I'll stop perpetuating that storyline.
That's right, yeah. Quit going for the old alien shocker, and we'll quit perpetuating the stereotype. That's what I say.
Seems fair,
yeah. We can move on, I guess.
That was it, huh?
Yeah.
He was putting out the ray of sunshine to our interplanetary brothers from Planet 9, or what was that stupid song by the Carpenters?
Oh, gosh.
Interplanetary...
Yeah, it was interplanetary something, and it went on for like 9 minutes, and really it was just there to irritate you.
That wasn't even their song. That was put out by a band that everybody thought was the Beatles recording an album undercover. Did you know that story?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I can't remember the original name of the band that released it. I think it was Klaatu. That's what it was, Klaatu. Seriously, I think the band's called Klaatu or Klaatu. They named after the character from The Day the Earth Stood Still.
And so Richard Carpenter said, I really need to hear my sister Karen sing that.
Why is he talking like a 1920s sportscaster?
Because I just imagine that's what Richard Carpenter sounds like.
23 skidoo, y'all. Let's sing up this song. Da-da-da-da-da. It's the one and only D-O-double-G, Snoop Doggy Dog.
I just imagine that's what he sings. That he sounds like. And he's like, quick, deny her a sandwich and put her on a microphone. I don't know.
Too soon.
Is it too soon? I don't know.
Too soon.
And then that all happened, and I don't know. Sorry. Did I bring the show to a stop?
Yeah, it was grinding halt. No, that's fine. You know what? Let's perk it back up. Let's do a phone call from our Voices from Beyond voicemail. We asked for your calls. You responded. Here's the story to start off this week's show.
Hi, guys. When I was 11 years old, I was spending the night at my grandmother's house. My grandfather was not there, which is probably a good thing considering he was dead at the time. You prop him up in the corner and Febreze the hell out of him every couple of weeks, I guess. But no, he was dead and buried. I'm asleep. I wake up for no particular reason, and there standing in the doorway is this shadow. I mean, it's dark around it, so how it can be a shadow, I don't know, but it's the shape of a tall, muscular man, and no, it was not my grandfather in a younger year. I'm sure he never looked like this. It wasn't actually a shadow. It was, have you ever seen static on a television? Snow, you know? It was like that, but black, forming the shape of a human. And, sorry, got another call here and it's throwing me off. This thing turned to the side and walked away down the hallway. And strangely enough, I wasn't afraid of it, and I got up to follow it, and it wasn't in the hallway. So I walked a little further and looked into the living room, and sure enough, there it was again, at the far end of the room, like bent at the waist and doing something behind the television. I don't know what it was supposed to be doing, but it was there. Now, at this point, I started to get a little creeped out, and I went back to wake up my grandmother and let her know that, hey, there's something in the house, and I'm afraid, so I'm keeping one eye on the door as well, make sure that nothing comes in. My grandmother, who English isn't her first language, it took her a couple minutes to wake up and understand what I was saying. Nothing came by the door, nothing went out the front door. Finally, she got up and we went and looked, and there was nothing there, of course. Okay. Fast forward 25, 30 years, and I'm sitting there having lunch with my sister, who tells me that she was always bothered to be alone in the basement of that house, which I was too, but I always thought it was just me. So it turns out it was two of us, and our dog, who basically followed my mom around like a shadow, would not follow her into the basement. So I don't know what was going on there, but considering the 4 different items all meshing together tells me there was something strange happening. And that is my story of the paranormal. That's about it. Thanks, guys. Keep up the great work. Talk to you later. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. We love to hear from you. We love when you call in and share your stories. Do you know what I love almost as much as that, Tim?
What's
almost
that?
As much as hearing from our listeners and having them share their stories?
No idea what's that.
I love free TV, Tim.
Oh,
Pluto
yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
That's my jam right there. I cut the cords. I think I've mentioned this, but we're fully moved in. Okay? Mm-hmm. Into my new home.
Yep.
We have cut the cords, and I'm not missing cable. I got to be honest with you. I'm not missing cable because Pluto TV is filling the gap for me, Tim. Pluto TV is the leading free streaming television service where you can watch over 100 TV channels, thousands of movies, all on demand and all for free. No credit card needed, no sign up. Pluto TV is the easy and completely legal way to watch your favorite TV shows and hit movies. What are you waiting for? Never pay for TV again. Download Pluto TV for free on all of your favorite devices today. Your phone, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, smart TVs, PlayStation, anywhere that you stream, get Pluto TV. You deserve the best and get it for the price that is the best. Free. Did I mention it's free, Tim? Pluto TV. Download it today. All right, where are we off to next in the world of supernatural news?
We're going to this bizarre study, Dave, where they're trying to link Bigfoot to an orangutan, I guess.
Oh, well, let's see. Maybe there's something to it.
I guess it might be. They think the missing link may have been found. The original Bigfoot was a close relative of an orangutan, Dave. An orangutan. It's not a tang, it's a tan, because if it were tang, you could drink it.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll try to say it
you and I have different types of tangs in our life, I guess, but go ahead.
Well, I know. The legendary Bigfoot has long been thought as the missing link between apes and humans in a stunning discovery. Words is hard today, Dave. Scientists have unearthed new evidence of the so-called original Bigfoot, a 10-foot tall ape that lived nearly 2 million years ago. Known as Gigantopithecus blacki. That's what it says here. I'm not making stuff up, Dave.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Gigantopithecus blacki.
Yeah. Or it could be black eye, but
okay.
But it's got an...
Probably not. Probably blackie. Okay.
Researchers discovered that the giant primate lived in southeastern China approximately 1.9 million years ago. They also found the animal was related to the modern-day orangutan after they conducted groundbreaking new analysis of proteins in tooth enamel. Well, they had good tooth enamel. That's fun. By sequencing proteins retrieved from dental enamel about 2 million years ago, we showed that it is possible to confidently reconstruct the evolutionary relationships of animal species that went extinct too far away in time for their DNA to survive until now, said one of the study's co-authors, Enrico Cappellini, who I believe participated in a hit of one of the Gottis, I believe. I think one of the Gotti family.
Wow.
Yeah, Enrico Cappellini.
Nice way to get you on his radar, Tim.
I'm thinking, yeah. He said that in a statement. In this study, we can even conclude that the lineages of orangutan and Gigantopithecus split up about 12 million years ago. Wow, they really went back, didn't they? The research also shows that G. black eye or black E, you decide, Dave. I let you do that. Which weighed up to 595 pounds, diverged from orangutans about 12 million years ago. Unlike chimpanzees or bonobos, it is not closely related to humans. With this study, we show that we can use protein sequencing to retrieve ancient genetic information from primates living in subtropical areas, even when the fossil is 2 million years old, the study's lead author, Friedo Welker, added in the statement. Until now, it has only been possible to retrieve genetic information from up to 10,000-year-old fossils in warm, humid areas. Welker continued, this is interesting because ancient remains of the supposed ancestors of our species, Homo sapiens, are also mainly found in subtropical areas, particularly for the early part of human evolution. This means that we can potentially retrieve similar information on the evolutionary line leading to humans. It is widely accepted in the scientific community that the lineage between humans and chimpanzees split between 7 and 8 million years ago. Fossils of G. blacki or black eye, you decide, have been hard to find, with only 4 partial jaws and thousands of teeth having been discovered. It's unclear exactly what G. black eye looks like, though recreations have painted it as an oversized orangutan. This according to Live Science Notes. Cappellini said the evidence they discovered doesn't provide them any information about appearance, phenotype, or biology. The study has been published in the scientific journal Nature.
That's an interesting aspect of it all.
Yeah, most definitely. So apers may have something to go on now.
Apers?
Well, yeah. You weren't in on the show that we did recently with Tobe Johnson, but he was talking about apers versus the supernatural side of squatchers. So
apers, yeah.
Apers have something more to go on now. So,
I like it. I like it. It's starting to make some sense.
Yeah.
All right, where are we off to next, my good friend?
Well, drinkers are terrorized by a sex-mad ghost at a haunted 300-year-old Brit pub. I see no downside to this story whatsoever.
Wow. All right. Well, read on and let's see if we find one together.
Okay. The Drovers Inn north of Loch Lomond is a scary place at night, say the staff ahead of the Halloween holiday which just passed us by. Malevolent and frisky ghosts. I can't say it. I'm so excited. Malevolent and frisky ghosts have been terrorizing visitors to a 300-year-old lockside pub in Scotland, this according to the staff. Self-opening doors, sinister laughter, mysterious bruises, moving objects, orbs, and unexplained sexual bumping in the night. Hey, now, have all plagued those brave enough to stay at the Drover's Inn. I need to put this in my phone. At the northern tip of Loch Lomond, if you know what I mean, Dave.
Just the tip?
Just the tip. The northern tip of Loch Lomond. The testimonies of those who have stayed and worked at the 18th Century Inn, one of the oldest pubs in Scotland, are the stuff of local legend. The premises were long used by Highland cattle merchants who used to drive their cattle down the side of the loch to the markets in the lowlands. Much of the decor and furniture remain the same, and if the tales are to be believed, its old inhabitants have never really left, with guests in one room regularly claiming to be disturbed and even pinched in the night. Well, that's nice floor play.
Floor play.
I can't talk today.
I understand why you're always looking for love in all the wrong places,
right,
Tim.
I'm on the floor.
If you're trying floor play with a woman,
right,
that may be your problem.
That could be my problem. The ghostly bumping sounds are so loud, visitors have even mistaken them for people having sex. So they're jealous. They like to get in on the deal. 38-year-old Yvonne McStravick said, "It's a scary place at night." She's the venue's social media manager. "I have slept in the haunted room and I haven't slept a wink, but one night me and my husband had been up in the jacuzzi room." I bet he was.
I like where this is going.
Strangely, I slept really soundly. Well, I guess it wasn't that good for him. But in the morning, I woke up and I was covered in bruises. But funniest story has to be when a customer complained about hearing guests in a room next door getting amorous for several hours. Oh, here we go. "The rhythmic bangs were so bad the couple got no sleep," said Yvonne. They even suggested that there were more than two people in the room. Oh, hey, ghost orgy. That's the name of a brand new show I'm producing on A&E.
Yeah, unfortunately, they can't use you on the episodes either.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm just producing it. I'm not appearing. Yeah. No.
Oh, come on.
No
Stop
fun.
it. I feel that there is a change in the air for you, Tim.
You think so? Someday, maybe, Dave, I'll be on that one episode of Porta Potties, Ghost Porta Potties.
Yeah.
Called the S Hits
Porta
the Fan.
Potties to Hell?
Yeah, Porta Potties to Hell.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. They even suggested there were more than two people in the room, she recalled. Reception were very confused when they checked the room plan, as there had been no other guests even staying in that side of the building. So we think it must have been the ghost getting some lovin', she recalled. A little ghost lovin' going.
You to sleep after the lovin'. Why not? It's good to know maybe ghosts are still getting a little on the other side.
Yeah, well, at least, the ghost orgy thing is kind of, it's promising.
A paranormal orgy. Do we call that a porgy?
That would be a porgy. A porgy and best, Dave. That's what we like to call it. I forget I even said that. So Christopher Higgins visited the Drovers in 2016 with his dad and is convinced the place is full of paranormal activity, especially room 6 where strange happenings are rife. He said, "One of the lassies was staying in room 6, so I went to my chalet and got my big camera." I bet he did. Took some photographs of the orbs going around. The orbs, Dave. Can you hear the brakes being hit in the background? She asked, "Show us what you got." And just then, on my left-hand side, I saw a child laughing, and I know for a fact there were no children in the bar that night. I said, "Okay, we have a ghost here." As soon as I opened the door, I froze and I couldn't move any further because I was cold. Colette Davies Hoskisson was also in room 6 20 years ago, and she's convinced it's haunted by a poltergeist. She said, "I stayed in that room before they refurbished the rooms, and we heard noises all night. Our doors kept opening on its own, and even after we locked the latch down, Colette..."
You think it was Porkergeist, maybe?
A Porkergeist? Oh, Dave, that's not
Oh, nice. I make me laugh, and that's the important thing, Tim.
Colette said she also heard banging, so knocked on next door to ask him to stop, and no one was there. She added, it freaked me out. I can tell you, and I don't freak out easy. That's the same room I've been back loads of times for meals, but not to stay. On another occasion, a woman reported her partner woke. It says, woke he rip in the middle of the night to tell her off.
Woke her up, I think, is what they meant to say. If I was deciphering this cryptic code, Tim, using my Sherlock Holmes-like abilities, I would say woke her up.
Woke her up in the middle of the night to tell her off for moving loose change on his bedside table. Okay, that makes sense. She recalled, I said, well, I'm obviously not as I'm laid next to you. Okay.
Spell check, folks. Just take a quick glance at it before you hit the old submit button.
Our dog was sat staring at the bedside cabinet. It was a strange experience. Another visitor is convinced room 6 is haunted by a child ghost. She said during the night, the whole of my right side went really, really cold. When we read into it, apparently the little girl who was drowned in the lock was brought up to room 6, and guests sometimes feel the same cold feeling, and it's the girl getting into bed with you. I don't want that. That's not very
Really?
nice.
You don't?
No.
That's been up for a little specter detector loving.
But that's a little girl, Dave.
That's a little girl. I'm sorry, that part went out of my mind. All I thought of was ghosts in bed.
All
right, I take it back. I rewind and I erase, Tim.
Thank you.
People that don't know what that is, that's what we used to be able to do with tape.
Yeah. 21-year-old current barman.
Tape? You mean the stuff that you used to wrap presents in? No, audio tape. Never mind.
Right. 21-year-old current bar manager Allie Campbell has said he often hears noises and banging at the end of the night when everyone else has gone to bed. He is convinced the spirit is that of Old George, a regular to the Drovers, whose ashes used to live on the shelf in the bar but were recently stolen. Well, that can't be good. On several occasions, he has felt a presence beside him when in the bar, he said, and once items mysteriously crashed on the floor from the reception desk. He is convinced it's the ghost of Old George keeping tabs on his favorite pub. The Drovers Inn is widely regarded to be one of the most haunted hotels in the UK, and if these spooky tales are to be believed, it deserves that title. So there you go.
Interesting. So Bill Chappell and I, the paranormal engineer, right?
Yep.
Who has worked with Ghost Adventures for many years. And I went to Cripple Creek, Colorado, Tim. Because up on Cripple Creek, that's where he sends me. When I spring a leak, that's where he mends me, Tim. Anyway, we went up there to the St. Nicholas Hotel. We're investigating claims, and there's one room known as the Nuns Room. All right? Where we have all of our equipment kind of laying on the bed, hoping that, we might catch an audio or the K2s might go off or something will happen, right? We're watching through the original iteration of the SLS camera when suddenly a figure pops up on the bed. And it's like standing there, and then it starts to stoop over like it's looking at all the different pieces of equipment on the bed. So we're watching this projected stick figure, right? And the two of us are like, what's going on? All of a sudden, another stick figure climbs up on the bed. And Tim, I hand to God, watch this in amazement with Bill Chappell. They suddenly go from standing to a prone position, Tim. And these two stick figures begin undulating and become one. Two become one, Tim, in front of our very eyes. Oh, whatever, Dave Schrader. If that's true, where's the footage? It exists. It really does. I will see if I can get Bill Chappell to post it on the YouTubes, Tim, or to give it to me so I could post it on the YouTubes.
There you go.
Because that was crazy. Then, a little later on in that room, Tim, I, again, hand to God, I think you've seen this footage at the conferences we've been at. Bill goes into that same room, and he's standing on the other side of the room, and I tell him, we'll open up the closet, and as soon as he opens it, this figure steps out of the closet, right? And I go, it's right next to you, Bill. Put your hand out. So he kind of puts his hand out, like waist high. the ghost kind of bends backwards a little bit like it's pushing its groin into his hand. I kid you not. And I go, Bill, you're not going to believe what I'm seeing here. And we caught all of it on video. So, like, it was like the ghost was begging for a little hand loving.
I see.
From Bill Chappell. Well, he does have a tender touch, I've been told.
He does. He's got a very soft touch for an engineer.
Yeah. So crazy, huh?
Yeah.
So there's that. I thought I'd share that with you. I don't know, my ghost sex stories, maybe they're not what they used to be. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We've got more phone calls, more news, and football picks right after this. You know what's a sneaky good holiday gift? How about super comfortable Bombas socks? Most people don't ask for socks, but that's just because they haven't worn Bombas. Tim and I have been wearing Bombas socks, and I switched over to Bombas socks 3 years ago. I've not gone back. Why, you may ask? Well, because they're your advertiser, Dave. Oh, I wish it was that simple. I found Bombas first, and then they became advertisers because we love Bombas socks. The way they cradle our feet, they keep our feet warm in the winter, cool in the summer. The support is there. The durability is there. These socks do not fall apart on me like most big box store chain socks do. Bombas socks are the gift that I give to myself, Tim. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but when you do as much walking as I do for different events and our trips overseas and everything that's gone on, I put a lot of wear and tear on my hoofs. And I want something comfortable. It's like a gentle hug and a reminder that my feet are important to me. Because if you know this better than anybody, Tim, if you don't treat your feet well, it's a bad, bad thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Bombas, this is the sock that we recommend to everybody. And did you know that socks are the number one most requested item in homeless shelters?
Really?
Well, Bombas socks, yeah, they knew that. And Bombas socks were created to change that, because every pair of Bombas socks that you, our amazing listeners, buy, Bombas donates a pair to someone in need. Bombas socks are soft, like made with the softest cotton in the world kind of soft. They are amazing. They're built with extra cushioning. So whether you're walking a dog, chilling at home, or trying to save the planet, you're going to be comfortable. Bombas socks also provide support in the places that you didn't even know you needed it, like the arches. Each sock is built with a special arch support system. It's not too tight. It's more like I said, kind of like a nice hug for your foot. And you'll notice that the fatigue in your feet seems to go away as well. You ever notice that annoying toe seam, Tim, in most socks?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that little ridge on the top that irritates you when you put them into a pair of shoes. Well, Bombas got rid of it. So they're smooth across the top of your foot. You do a lot of different things. So Bombas has made a lot of different socks. Dress socks for work, performance socks for working out, and limited edition holiday socks. Well, they even have a line of merino wool socks. They're like magic. Soft, warm, naturally moisture wicking, and they're never itchy or rough. And we know winter has come early here in Minnesota, Tim. It has gotten cold fast here in Minnesota.
Oh, yes.
And first thing that gets cold on me are my feet. Not so much. I've picked up these amazing wool socks. They are so comfortable, so warm, and they look good. You know that person who's just kind of like a gift enigma? We've all got one. Completely impossible to shop for. Well, Bombas is the gift even that person is going to love. Everybody will. If you want to give somebody a perfectly nice gift, give them, I don't know, a candle, a book, some chocolate. But if you want to be a holiday gifting ninja, give them the gift that will continue giving all year round. Give them Bombas. So go to bombas.com, BOMBAS.com/darkness. And get 20% off your first purchase. Do it today. That's BOMBAS.com/darkness. Bombas.com/darkness. And remember, at this time of year, every pair of socks you buy, they donate a pair to homeless and the people that need them most. So it's a double whammy. Not only are you getting something soft and comfortable, but you know that you're giving the gift of soft and comfort to people all around the United States. Go check it out. Bombas.com/darkness. I am so excited to be welcoming Hot Boxin' with Mike Tyson to the Podcast One family. Listen as Mike Tyson, the baddest man on the planet, pours his soul into conversations with fascinating minds, celebrities, and athletes, along with his cosmic millennial sidekick and former NFLer Eben Britton. Kid Dynamite dives deep into the issues impacting us all today. This podcast will change the way you see the world. Check out their first 2 episodes featuring Evander Holyfield and Tip T.I. Harris. Don't miss Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson every week on Apple Podcasts and Podcast One.
Beyond the darkness.
All right, Tim, where are we off to next?
Well, Dave, we're going off to a story about Dracula and how Dracula may be based on a real-life character, which is a priest from Devon. You wouldn't think of Dracula as a priest, Dave, would you?
No, not offhand, but let's hear the theory.
You know, most priests would say body of Christ, blood of Christ, but never, hey, I'll take your blood instead. That's never a good thing. The creators of Sherlock have made a new Dracula series for the BBC and Netflix. Writer Andy Struthers insists the infamous blood-sucking character hailed from Devon. He just is insisting. The real-life inspiration for the tale of Count Dracula has come under question. Has been come under question, Dave. Ahead of a new TV series based on the horror story. The team behind the BBC popular Sherlock series are creating a new Dracula show for the BBC and Netflix. The program will draw on the novel by Bram Stoker, who apparently originally found out about the blood-sucking demon from a priest in Devon. Writer Andy Struthers insists that rather than Vlad the Impaler, Mr. Stoker took his inspiration from the famous virgin-killing vampire from The Clergyman. Andy's book, Dracula Incarnate, Unearthing the Definitive Dracula, says the Gothic character is actually based on the works of Sabine Baring-Gould from Exeter, who would have much preferred drinking cider to blood. He claims Stoker created the character after reading Baring-Gould's Lycanthropy, the study of werewolves, and a vampire story called Marjorie of Kether? Same thing. He adds that it also explains why in the famous 1897 text solicitor Jonathan Harker leaves from Exeter's Cathedral Close to make his perilous journey to Transylvania. The author claims Stoker included the reference as a secret thank you to Baring-Gould and acknowledgement that he was inspired by him. 49-year-old Andy from Warrington, Cheshire, said the Book of Werewolves and the Vampire Tale provided Stoker with elements of his story and virtually everything he needed for the creation of his vampire count, possibly including the voice of his vampire, which was female. Stoker was fond of tipping his hat to friends and acquaintances who had either helped him in researching his novel or perhaps even inspired the characters within its pages. Exeter was included in the novel as a way of thanking you, or as a way of saying thank you, rather, to Baring-Gould and the masses of material that he had provided the Irish author with. According to Mr. Struthers, Stoker drew heavily on the books by Baring-Gould, born in 1834, who also wrote the famous hymn Onward Christian Soldiers. Mr. Struthers added, people will be surprised and sometimes shocked by my findings, as most of what they now hold true will be proven to be false. It's a bit like finding out who Father Christmas really is. His findings will be revealed at the World Dracula Congress in front of Dracula authors Bram Stoker's descendants in Dublin.
That's interesting. Now, we did a show a number of years ago with Neil Story, who tracked down the real background for Dracula. In his estimation, it was Jack the Ripper. and that Bram Stoker may have even come into contact with Jack the Ripper at one point.
Yeah.
And he found a handwritten note from Bram Stoker in one of the original versions of the book acknowledging that it was Jack the Ripper. But, I've got to guess there were enough characters like Vlad the Impaler and Lady Bathory and Jack the Ripper that, to say Jack the Ripper may have been kind of his definitive point of view, but you've got to think that there were other aspects of Dracula that were interwoven into the storyline. And I'm sure he stole from just a little bit of everybody. And I don't mean steal in a bad way, but I mean, use different aspects of different people throughout their weird lives and careers.
Sure. I mean, everybody takes a little bit from somewhere in order to create a new character. There's, you can only, like with music, you can only make up so many notes to make a song. Everything's pretty much been done, but it's been rearranged in a different way.
All right. Where are we going next in the world of supernatural news?
We're going to China, Dave, where the world's first gene-edited babies have bin created.
Gene-edited babies?
Right. How would you like to go back and remake your kids?
Yes. Well, at least the making part. You know what? I've thought of that. Would I flip some switches? Would I make those genetic changes? First of all, yeah, my daughter dealing with diabetes is no bueno. Different aspects of autoimmune issues in some of my kids and everything. I would genetically manipulate. My fear is, so what's the long-term effect? If you switch something off, right, how does that affect other aspects? Does something else maybe trip on that you're not even thinking about?
Like a chain effect down the line?
Yeah, like something you're not even, isn't even on your radar right now. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. I'm sorry. I felt myself peter out when I was trying to explain it.
No,
it's hard to wrap it in there.
No, I think you got the gist of it there. China has gone on and created gene-edited babies, at least according to scientists' claims. A scientist in China claims to have created the world's first genetically edited babies in a potentially groundbreaking and controversial medical first. If true, it would be a profound leap of science and ethics. This kind of gene editing is banned in most countries as the technology is still experimental and DNA changes can pass to future generations, potentially with unforeseen side effects, kind of like with what Dave was kind of alluding to. Many mainstream scientists think it's too unsafe to try, and some have denounced the Chinese report as human experimentation. The researcher He Jianku of Southern University of Science and Technology in Shenzhen said he altered embryos for 7 couples during fertility experiments, with 1 pregnancy resulting so far. He said his goal was not to cure or prevent an inherited disease, but to try to bestow a trait that few people naturally have, an ability to resist possible future infection with HIV, which is interesting. He said the parents involved declined to be identified or interviewed, and he would not say where they lived or where the work was done. There is no independent confirmation of his claim, and it has not been published in a journal where it would be vetted by other experts. He revealed it on Monday in Hong Kong to one of the organizers of an international conference on gene editing that is due to begin on Tuesday, and earlier in interviews with the Associated Press. He said, "I feel a strong responsibility that it's not just to make a first, but also make it an example. Society will decide what to do next in terms of allowing and forbidding such science." Some scientists were astounded to hear of the claim and strongly condemned it. It was unconscionable, an experiment on human beings that is not morally or ethically defensible, said Dr. Kiran Musunuru, a University of Pennsylvania gene editing expert. If true, this experiment is monstrous, said Julian Sovalescu, a professor of practical ethics at the University of Oxford. The embryos were healthy, no known diseases. Gene editing itself is experimental and is still associated with off-target mutations capable of causing genetic problems early and later in life, including the development of cancer. There are many effective ways to prevent HIV in healthy individuals. For example, protected sex. And there are effective treatments if one does contact it. This experiment exposes healthy, normal children to risks of gene editing for no real necessary benefit. In many other places in the world, this would be illegal punishment by imprisonment. In recent years, scientists have discovered a relatively easy way to edit genes. The strands of DNA that govern the body, the tool called the CRISPR-Cas9, makes it possible to operate on DNA to supply a needed gene or disable one that is causing problems. It has only recently been tried in adults to treat deadly diseases, and the changes are confined to that person. If sperm, eggs, or embryos were to be edited, the changes could then be inherited. He Jiankyu studied at Rice and Stanford universities in the U.S. before returning to his homeland to open a lab at Southern University of Science and Technology in China, in Shenzhen, where he also has 2 genetics companies. He said he practiced editing mice, monkeys, and human embryos in the lab for several years and has applied for patents on his methods. He said he chose embryo gene editing for HIV because these infections are a major problem in China. He also sought to disable a gene called CCR5 that forms a protein doorway that allows HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, to enter a cell. All of the men in the project had HIV and all the women did not, but the gene editing was not aimed at preventing the small risk of transmission, he said. The fathers had their infections deeply suppressed by standard HIV medications, and there are simple ways to keep them from infecting offspring that do not involve altering genes. Instead, the appeal was to offer couples affected by HIV a chance to have a child that might be protected from a similar fate. He said the gene editing occurred during in vitro fertilization. First sperm was washed to separate it from semen, in which HIV can lurk. A single sperm was placed into a single egg to create an embryo. Then the gene editing tool was added. When the embryos were 3 to 5 days old, a few cells were removed and checked for editing. Couples could choose whether to use edited or unedited embryos for pregnancy attempts. In all, 16 of 22 embryos were edited, and 11 embryos were used in 6 implant attempts before the twin pregnancy was achieved. This according to he. Tests suggest that one twin had both copies of the intended gene altered, and the other twin just had one altered, with no immediate evidence of harm to other genes, he said. People with one copy of the gene can still get HIV. Musunuru said that even if editing worked perfectly, people without normal CCR5 genes faced higher risks of contracting certain other viruses, such as West Nile virus, and of dying from flu. Since there are many other ways to prevent HIV infection, and it is treatable if it occurs, there are other medical risks that are a concern. There are also questions about the way he said he proceeded. He gave official notice of his work long after he started it on the 8th of November. It is also unclear whether participants fully understood the purpose and potential risks and benefits. For example, consent forms called the project an AIDS vaccine development program. He said he personally made the goals clear and told participants that embryo gene editing had never even been tried before and carried risks. He also said he would provide insurance coverage for any children conceived through the project and plans medical follow-up up until the children are 18 and longer if they agree once they are adults. I believe this is going to help families and their children, he said. If it caused unwanted side effects or harm, I would feel the same pain as they do, and it's going to be my own responsibility. Dr. Sarah Chan, a ethicist at the University of Edinburgh, said that if true, the experiment was of grave ethical concern. Whether or not the veracity of these reports is eventually borne out, making such claims in a way that seems deliberately designed to provoke maximum controversy and shock value is irresponsible and unethical, she went on to say. So there you go.
Yeah, I get it. I just don't know. I mean, science needs to, take leaps and bounds. And much of what we know was done in things that we would have considered unethical at this point, but it saves lives now. At what point do we grasp it, grapple with it, and realize, again, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs?
True, although this scientist is taking a roundabout way with the HIV epidemic in China, when there are other ways to attack it that scientists are working on. It's an interesting conundrum that they put themselves in, where it's pointed out in the article that, when you take away that CCR5 gene, it also opens you up to vulnerabilities in other flu viruses.
Right, kind of like I was saying, what does that, flipping that switch, what happens to other aspects of us?
Right,
yeah.
Right. And it seems like any other scientist that would attempt to manipulate that gene would have looked forward and ahead to that consequence. Well, if I take this part out here, how will that affect the life of this person going forward? Like if if you take a piece out of a puzzle, that the puzzle isn't complete. So why would you mess with the way the puzzle is put together? Why wouldn't you look for a way to treat outside of that? It seems like an odd way to go about it, but I get what you're saying.
All right, let's do this. Phone lines. You're beyond the voice. God, why can I not get this right, Tim? It's been 3 years. The Voices from Beyond voicemail is 651-300-4977. I would go back in and genetically alter my memory, Tim.
I see. But
yes, so that I could remember the damn Voices from Beyond voicemail. 651-300-4977. That's the number to call, just like this caller did.
Hey, Tim and Dave, this is Tyler from Quincy, Illinois again. I just thought I'd call, because I've called many times so far, but I wanted to go back to the only 2 times that I've ever had a paranormal experience in my life, besides everything that's happened within the past 2 years that I've been calling in about. I felt compelled to call and tell them because one of my first ones is very similar to one of the stories you told. I can't remember which wrestler it was when you were telling the wrestler stories last week. And so here it goes. When I was really little, I would say probably like 5, I woke up one morning. I don't remember it being like a sleep paralysis type state, but I woke up one morning and in my bedroom I had these life-size stuffed animal versions of Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, and I think there might have been a Sesame Street Big Bird in there. And they were all perched up at my little Tykes table and chairs that was in my room. One day I woke up and they were talking to me. As odd as that sounds, I woke up in the morning and I can't remember exactly what they said. It was along the lines of, "Hey Tyler, how you doing?" And I was just like, "Oh God," pulled the covers over my head, kind of fell back asleep, scared, crapless. So the very next day, I tried to tell my parents. Of course, they didn't believe me, but in my mind, it happened. So I took all the stuffed animals that night and laid them out in the hallway. Parents couldn't figure out why. That night is when I saw the shadow person on my door. Like I stated in my last call, the shadow person I saw, my mom is a broad-shouldered woman and she's short, and my dad is about 6 foot and he's a big guy. And the shadow I saw on my door was of a very skinny person. So, can't be explained. The other time, my only other paranormal experience when I was growing up was right after I graduated from high school in 2010. My grandma passed away from cancer. The night she passed away, I had my door locked and to my room, and I usually pass out with the TV on, usually watching a movie or something. I woke up that morning to find the glass of water that was sitting on my nightstand, sitting in the middle of my floor, and my remotes that were laying with me in bed were sitting on a pillow that said dead end, the pillow that was buried somewhere on the futon in my room. Sitting on that pillow. So I woke up I went downstairs for breakfast, and I looked at my mom and her boyfriend, and I was like, did you guys come in my room? And they said, no, why? I was like, well, my door was locked either way, but I said, I explained to them what happened. And I'm like, oh, that was weird. And I looked at my mom and I was like, could it maybe be Grandma? Because she passed away the day before. And she's like, well, it's kind of a funny thing you say that. She's like, I would say, no, but I can't deny it because I had a strange dream, and I woke up to her voice calling my name in a stern way, which, like when your mom yells at you and you use your first name and your middle name sternly. It was like that. So it was weird. So that's my story. Thank you guys. Love you guys. You're awesome. Love Midnight in the Desert. Love this show. Wish they could meld together. Wish you could hear more of Tim Dennis on Midnight in the Desert as I fill in. But, yeah. You guys are awesome and have a good weekend.
Fascinating. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing your story. All right, where are we off to next in the world of supernatural news, Tim?
Well, Sean Williamson claims he's being haunted by a noisy ghost named Rosemary. I kid you not, this is what he claims.
Rosemary, keep it down!
Former East Ender actor Sean Williamson has claimed his house is being haunted by a noisy ghost that he named Dennis. It's not me.
I thought it was Rosemary. I'm confused.
I don't know. That's what it says in the headline, and then it says he named it Dennis.
Is it a transgender spectral being?
It may be. I don't know. But luckily for the 54-year-old TV star, he's friends with his old celebrity Big Brother housemate and medium Derek Akora. Boy, he'll come in handy sometimes, won't he? Who confirmed the ghost was actually named Rosemary. Oh, here's the twist.
All right.
Yep, Derek says it's not Dennis, it's Rosemary. Speaking to Richard Herring on his Leicester Square Theater podcast, Williamson explained, I was in Celebrity Big Brother with Derek Akora, and I believe he sees and feels everything he believes he sees and feels. We moved into a new house, myself and my current wife, Adele, and straight away there were banging noises, and we'd got a ghost. Derek rang me up because he wanted me to be on his radio show, and he said, Rosemary. Rosemary is the name of the lady who lives in your house. Boys always call their toys boys' names, and girls always call their toys girls' names, so I'd always called it Dennis, and I'd shout, Dennis, I'm trying to work.
Well, maybe it was Denise. Did they think of that?
Maybe that's why he pissed it off so much, because it was a Rosemary, not a Dennis.
Yeah.
But it's Rosemary. So basically, yes, we do have a noisy ghost in our house, and according to Derek, it's called Rosemary. Williamson added that he believed the spirits of people linger once they've passed, and that there is more evidence of poltergeists over time. The 69-year-old Akora starred on paranormal reality show Most Haunted for its first 6 series, but he left the program in 2005 amid claims he had been faking his contact with spirits. He went on to feature in several paranormal programs, including Derek Akora's Ghost Towns, Michael Jackson, The Search for His Spirit, and The Past Hunters. There you go.
Huh. Well, we like Derek. We've had Derek on the show. I think he got a bum rap. I think that they set him up to mess with him, and that's what happened to Derek Akora. He's an entertainer, and I think that they mucked with him, and that's my take on it. I could be wrong, but who knows?
Yeah.
Talking about being wrong, Tim, maybe it's time we take a look at our football picks real quickly. Since our sponsor, betonline.ag, has pushed us yet another week further into this melee monster mash, Tim, we've made our picks, which is an important part, right? We've made our picks, and we want your thoughts on this, folks, because we've got a lot going on. If you're not familiar, if you're new to the show, maybe you just watched the Holzer Files and you said, wow, the guy's got a radio show too, let's tune in. Well, listen, we marry many things that we love, whether it's the paranormal or true crime and even a little sports betting. Tim, that's kind of what we're doing here. Sure. It's week 11. and we have made our picks for the week. You can check our rankings. You can check out where we're at by visiting www.podcast1sportsnet.com. That's www.podcast1sportsnet.com. You can check it out and see the rankings for all of the Podcast One hosts that are playing along at home. And remember that each week there is a really cool little contest going on. All right. First of all, we make our 5 picks for the week, including a lock. That's the one we're sinking our money into. Really believe this is the one that's going to take us over the top. There's a $500 reward that we're able to give after if we were to win this week with our picks and we scored the most points, we will be given $500 to allocate to any of our listeners that are playing along on betonline.ag. So that's why you should go do it. Plus, it's just a lot of fun. Plus, we also have a $5,000 season-long charity contest. All right, Tim, I'm reticent to do this, but I'm going to check it out right now while you and I speak on the air. I'm going to take a look at the rankings here.
Oh, God. You know what? Last week, Dave, was Sunday Bloody Sunday. It was
Sunday Bloody Sunday.
I'm convinced the mob, Vegas, everybody got behind the NFL last week and said, whoever's favored this week doesn't go over. They don't win. Last week was atrocious.
Well, here's the deal, though. It was atrocious for us, but listen.
No, it was atrocious for everybody.
Well, I know that, but I mean, it's atrocious. We have total points of 16. Adam Carolla has 26. Steve Stone Bold, I would say, Austin, is now ahead of us by 1 crappy point. 1 point separates us from overthrowing this man in the ring of life, Tim.
In the ring of life.
That's how close we are on this. I mean, but listen, there's plenty others, right? Plenty others that we're up against. Chris Horwedel, I'm butchering the name. I apologize. From Underdog Sports, he's kicking ass. 32 points. Yeah, that guy's racked up already for the season. But we've got Golflandia. Those guys don't know diddly about football, Tim. They've only got 10 points for the week.
Right.
Or for the season contest, so far. Yeah. Richard Blaze from Starving for Attention. Well, he's tied with us at 16. Phil Hendry, Tim. People love Phil Hendry.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently not for his football picks, though. He's only got 9 points.
Yeah.
So we're still above a few people. Below many, above a few, and neck and neck with a man that has no neck, Steve Austin. So this is the week we're going to clip back his wings, Tim. Let's run through our football picks, and we want you to play along with us, folks. We want you to go to betonline.ag, be a part of the fun with us, get in there, check out the bets, whether you like NFL, MLB, NBA, college football, and there's some key matchups again in college this week. Michigan State at Michigan, Navy at Notre Dame, Wake Forest at Clemson. Maybe you're more of a Georgia over Auburn fan. You could go check it out. You can make your bets. Visit betonline.ag. And don't forget that promo code podcast1 for your 50% sign-up bonus. betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. Tim, what are our NFL picks for Week 11?
Well, Dave, faster than you can take off your helmet and swing it at the opposing quarterback. Here are your picks for this week.
Okay.
It turns out, Dave, that that Ravens team is pretty darn good. And they're at home this week against the Texans, which could be a tough game. We think the Ravens are going to take this one, Dave. Take the Ravens over the Texans. That's your first pick for this week.
Nevermore.
Right.
That's a Raven thing.
Dave, I'm clutching every part of my body as I say this next one. This is your lock for the week. Now, this should be an obvious game in any other market except for this one. I want you to clutch with me here, Dave, as I say these next words.
I'm clutching.
Folks, this team lost my confidence 2 weeks ago. They looked pretty good last week in Dallas. They've got a tomato can of a team coming into their home stadium this week. Your lock for this week is the Minnesota Vikings against the lowly Denver Broncos coming into U.S. Bank Stadium.
I like that.
Mike Zimmer.
I likes it a lot, Tim.
If Mike Zimmer loses this game, he should lose his job. Mark those words.
Is that really how you feel about it?
He should. If he loses this game, he should lose his job. This one, if there is a gimme this year, it's this game. The Vikings are your lock this week, 28-7 or 17, 28-17. It will be a close game because the Broncos are not a pushover, but this game should easily be won at home, 28-17. That's your
all right.
That's your lock. That's your second game. Third game, the Cardinals, which are a scrappy team, walk into San Francisco to take on the 49ers, who were upset last week by Seattle, surprisingly. Okay, Seattle, you're not undefeated anymore. No big deal. Shake it off and beat the Cardinals. That's your third winner this week, the 49ers. You've got the Ravens, the Vikings, the 49ers get it back on track. Your fourth team, which has been a darn surprising team this year under John Gruden, and they're at home taking on the Bengals, is the Raiders. The Raiders win this week. They get another win. So your Raiders are your fourth team. And your fifth team got beat last week at home by the Vikings. And even though they look a little wobbly, but they still have the best offensive line in the game. They still got Dak. They still got Zeke. They still got a damn good defense. The Cowboys will travel into Detroit, and they will beat the Detroit Lions. So here are your teams: Ravens, 49ers, Raiders, Dallas, and your Vikings are a lock, 28-17. Those are the teams you bet on this week. Bet along with us and be one of 5 people to win $100 this week.
Very cool. All right. Let's get back to the supernatural news, shall we? Where are we going next in the world of supernatural news?
We're going to talk about John Fogerty, the singer, the entertainer, the guy who used to head Creedence Clearwater Revival, and his UFO fascination. He may be fascinated with the USO as well, Dave. There's plenty of lovely ladies who travel along with the USO as well. But he has a UFO fascination that's followed him from childhood and a dream he had in childhood. Rock legend John Fogerty is in Las Vegas this week performing at the Wynn and celebrating his 50th year as a recording star. He has sold millions of records, and many of his biggest hits have focused on paranormal themes and even UFOs. If you think about some of the most famous lines in his best-known songs, he's chasing down a hoodoo, he senses a bad mood rising, and all the calamity that might follow. He casts spells and watches the skies, and we suspected that there might be more to the story. Fogerty calls his music swamp rock, dating back to his Creedence Clearwater Revival days. His themes and lyrics are populated with spooky, swampy folklore, whether it's chasing hoodoos, dark premonitions, voodoo spells, and a zombie or two. Is he a student of the paranormal? Well, George Knapp sat down with him recently to talk to Fogerty. And Knapp asked him, you know about this stuff? You're knowledgeable. Bob Lazar, Area 51, Roswell, you're up on it. And Fogerty said, yeah, I'm up on it in a sense. I guess you'd call me a fan. I started quite young in the 50s. It was a great time for a kid growing up to experience the flying saucer phenomenon, the green men from outer space and all that. I saw every science fiction movie that was made and a lot of the horror ones too. Fogerty estimates that he watched the sci-fi classic The Day the Earth Stood Still about 250 times. Classic alien invasion movies inspired him to write It Came Out of the Sky, his own prediction of how humans might react to an ET landing. It raises the question of whether he's had a personal experience. He said, I've never seen a UFO that I know about, nor have I seen an alien that I know about, Fogerty says. But he adds, as a youngster, he had a strange recurring dream about the sensation of flying out of his home and over his town, accompanied by a mysterious friend. He wrote about it in his autobiography, Fortunate Son, and openly wonders if the friend was an ET. I was up over the neighborhood, just flying around, kind of like this, Fogerty recalls. But I had this dream from the time I was 6 until I was about 12. I had the dream over and over and over, and it always seemed to be some sort of presence, like a person that I was aware of, that I knew a guy, if you will. I didn't know what to call it. Fogerty told them about a spiritual epiphany he had at the gravesite of legendary bluesman Robert Johnson. It was a life-changing moment, and it resulted in Fogerty and some other famous musicians digging into their pockets to put headstones at the otherwise unmarked graves of several blues artists who had been forgotten as well. So there you go.
All right, John Fogerty.
Yeah.
Rocking in the free world, man. Oh, that's
Neil Young.
That's Neil Young.
Yeah, that's okay, though.
I got to see Fogerty and Neil Young perform together with Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
At the Rock the Vote. Remember that?
I was there, yeah.
Yeah, no, great show. REM, Fogerty, Bruce Springsteen, Neil Young. That was a pretty tremendous concert, I got to be honest with you. All right. I know enough of my ramblings and chit-chat, Tim. I know we've got more stories to tell. Where are we going next in the world of supernatural news?
Well, the Travel Channel is debuting a new trending fear series from creators of a viral Dear David the Dear David tweets. One of the most frightening events to unfold on social media was Adam Ellis's chronicles of what he claimed to be the spirit of a young boy haunting his apartment with his Dear David tweets, or at least the hashtag Dear David tweets. With the new Travel Channel series Trending Fear, hoping to bring relief to people across the country who also feel that their homes have been dominated by forces from another realm. Through these investigations, Ellis hopes to not only offer some peace to those who don't feel comfortable in their homes, but also learn more about the bizarre events that he was subjected to, with his recollection of personal events captivating millions of social media users. Per press release in 2017, BuzzFeed author and illustrator Adam Ellis captured the image of a ghost child in his New York City apartment and wrote his first of many spine-tingling tweets. My apartment is currently being haunted by the ghost of a dead child, and he's trying to kill me. In a state of fear and confusion, he documented his haunting on social media under the hashtag Dear David. 14 million people feverishly followed his terrifying experience, yearning for answers behind the little boy who invaded Ellis's life. It adds, now feeling both his fascination and his fear of the paranormal while simultaneously tapping into social media to explore every angle of his search, Ellis and friends Jen Lewis, researcher and documentarian, and Paul Bradford, ghost hunter and lead investigator, are on a mission to help others understand and escape their own nightmares in a new Travel Channel original series, Trending Fear, which premieres Friday, December 20th at 11 p.m. Eastern. In each of the 6-hour-long episodes, the trio will travel America from Oregon to Massachusetts, hoping to help people take back their lives after unexplainable encounters with the paranormal. By assisting others, Ellis hopes what he learns from his hands-on investigations will help further a deeper understanding of his own haunting. Adam's extraordinary personal experience and harrowing tale that went viral in Dear David makes him uniquely positioned to help those grappling with paranormal fear, Matthew Butler, general manager of Travel Channels, shared in a statement. The stories in Trending Fear give local community members the ability to discuss and engage with paranormal stories that most thought too taboo to discuss publicly. Adam, Jen, and Paul will be able to take them through the investigations in real time and with community help, unlike other paranormal stories before. The series premiere takes the team to Franklinville, New Jersey, widely known among Jerseyites as a particularly haunted township. Kathy Allen's home is right in the thick of the chaos. She's been yelled at and even pushed down the stairs, and now the hauntings are affecting her health and putting strain on her marriage. After getting a direct message from Stephanie, Allen's daughter Ellis rounds up Bradford and Lewis. Arriving in Franklinville, the trio is thrown right into the mix, with the spirit immediately making its presence known and demanding that they leave. But is it just the former homeowner who refuses to depart, or is something darker or more sinister at play? There's some other episodes that are on tap as well here too, Dave. There's an episode called Voodoo Vendetta, which airs on the 27th, The Haunted Homecoming on the 3rd, and Ghost Train to Terror on the 10th, which takes place in Tomball, Texas. Paranormal Witness is another episode that airs on the 17th in Tucson, Arizona. And the final episode, Boss Man, airs on the January 24th in Mineola, Texas. So it looks like a pretty interesting series overall.
Very cool. Hey, I want to make something available to our listeners, Tim.
Yeah.
All the great books and documentaries we cover, we've put in one place for you now. If you go to darknessradio.com and click on the store tab, you'll open up and you'll see a link to our Amazon shop. When you click on that Amazon shop, you're going to see 4 different subsections: the paranormal books we feature, true crime books we feature, what to watch, meaning all kinds of cool movies and DVDs and fun things that we found for you, and paranormal merchandise, gifts, and more. And those are 4 different little deals. But when you go in and purchase, you'll be helping to support the show. So go on in, make your purchases through that link. So if you're looking for any of these books, it helps us out. It doesn't cost you any more. But when you make a purchase of these different books, a small percentage goes to help out your buddies here on the show. So go check out darknessradio.com. Click on the store tab and it'll take you in, and you'll find ways to order all of the different books and great stuff. And I think we've got over 117 books in our store currently, tons of cool paranormal merchandise, videos, true crime books, and more. So go check it out. And you can check on today's posting for today's episode. You'll see a link to our store as well, so you can click on that and go in and get it. Tomorrow, Tim, we got a good show. You know, we just did an episode of the Holzer Files this last week from Lambert Castle in New Jersey. And, dude, this was a weird story. This was actually a case that evaded Hans Holzer. He tried on numerous occasions to get to Lambert Castle, but something would always interrupt him, whether it was car issues, the castle not being open on the days he was available, whatever. There always seemed to be an issue that came up. So instead of investigating the castle, he ended up investigating one of the experiencers. And that case always kind of haunted him, pardon the pun. He wanted to know if there was more to the story, so we re-examined that case. And we ended up calling in Damian Bertrand, a clinical hypnotherapist, to help us try to unravel part of this mystery. And to me, it was one of my favorite episodes that has aired so far this year. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, go check it out on the Travel Channel. It's a really excellent episode. But Damian Bertrand, the clinical hypnotherapist, will be with us tomorrow. We'll discuss what you saw on the episode and even some more behind-the-scenes stories. Plus, we'll talk about his career and his belief system. Does hypnotherapy really work in trying to tap into past lives? You can tune in tomorrow and find that out, and go check out the storefront at darknessradio.com. Click on the store tab, and you can actually order his book. The second edition is out with a brand new foreword. Past Lives, Journeys Revealed is the name of the book, by Damian Bertrand, clinical hypnotherapist, and Lauren Jefferson. So tune in tomorrow for more of the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. Tim, where are we going next in the world of supernatural news?
Got one more story here for you, Dave. Is Kurt Cobain's house haunted? And the home where actually the Nirvana singer committed suicide is reportedly haunted by his ghost. The house where Kurt Cobain committed suicide went on the market, but finds no buyers because of reports that the spirit of Kurt haunts the house. Although it seems like this is just some sort of fictional tradition, the source of the reports actually come from Kurt's widow, Courtney Love. In a meeting with Interview Magazine, Courtney talked about being visited by the spirit of Kurt, and that made people believe that if Kurt haunts a place, that this house is where he took his life. Because Courtney has admitted that she has seen his ghost, and because he died in the house, people are afraid that the place will be pursued. Although people say that the house is haunted and that these rumors are spread through social media, there have been no reports of people saying that they were at home and experienced something related to the paranormal. Courtney Love reportedly saw the spirit of Kurt in another house after she moved. It seems that all the hysteria is derived from Courtney Love's remarks. In an interview with Magazine, it says here, Courtney said the following: "When I moved from Seattle to Hancock Park with Francis and Edward Norton, Love's ex-boyfriend, I saw Kurt in a chair for a moment, and then he said hello to me, and then he left." You may see the interview as it's published below here. It says, "A child like Justin Bieber doesn't even understand selling out means there's no more tickets for Madison Square Garden." That's an Interview Magazine. It seems that with so many people who believe in the spirit of Kurt Cobain. This is kind of a discombobulated article, but it says that Cobain is on the house property. It is a good place to do some paranormal testing, such as using an EMF reader to detect levels of electromagnetic fields in the area. In addition, a spirit box could be used to communicate with the spirit of Kurt Cobain. To date, none of these methods have been reportedly used in the home. Tabloid reports suggest that potential buyers do not buy the house because of the possibility of it being chased, relying only on the experiences of Courtney Love. I
love that they're calling out Courtney Love. Yeah, I don't believe it's really haunted just because that woman said so. But who would know better than Courtney Love? I mean, I guess her drug and alcohol addiction might make you call into question some of her claims.
That's true. It says the National Enquirer quoted an unknown source of realtors who said they could not sell the house because it scares potential buyers. So that's the other source that they're quoting here in the article. And then they're kind of leaving it up to the reader to guess for themselves. I wouldn't doubt that there has some amount of haunting there. I mean, especially with the traumatic, whether it even be a residual haunting from the traumatic episode that happened there, whether you believe it's a suicide or a murder, because there's, of course, the people that do believe that Kurt was murdered. They don't believe that it was a suicide at all. But you would think there's got to be some sort of residual haunting from the traumatic event that did happen there. Even if it's not an active haunting. But true, I mean, no one's ever gone in with any equipment, but you would think that up until now it's been privately owned. So who would even get the opportunity,
Very weird. All right, let's do one more call before we wrap up today's episode. Remember, this is our Voices from Beyond voicemail. These are your stories that we feature every week right here on Beyond the Darkness.
Hi, Tim. Hi, Dave. I have a story for you. My name is Terry. I'm calling from Winnipeg in Canada. I did not come up with this joke, but Winnipeg kind of sounds like a contest for pirates, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. Story, a friend and I were walking along. This was back during my high school years. We used to take long walks on weekend nights, and we would just, go for miles and hours and talk. And one day we had decided we had walked far enough for the moment, and we stopped to sit down for a bit. And as we're sitting there, all of a sudden, like I said, this was at night, all of a sudden, poof, just very, very briefly, like the blink of an eye, it was daylight. I mean, vivid colors. You could see everything perfectly. And it was like nothing I've ever seen before. It was not like a flashbulb went off. It was like somebody put the sun back in the sky for a moment. And I kind of looked at my friend and I asked, "Did you just see that?" And he said, "Yeah." And I've never heard of anything like that before happening, and I wondered if you guys have. If anybody out there has, let me know, please. Thank you very much, and you guys have a great day. Bye now.
Hi, Tim and Dave. My name's Jake, and I'm from Waynesburg, New York. Figured I would share an experience I had with you guys. I have it written down so I remember and wanted to apologize if I trip on my words at all, because I have some bad anxiety. This happened about 10 years ago at my parents' house. I woke up around 3 a.m., went to the bathroom, went to get a drink. As I passed through the living room, I checked to make sure that my dad didn't fall asleep on the couch. Anyway, I got my drink and looked through the aisle into the living room. When I looked at the couch, I saw someone laying there. And when I saw the face, it looked so mad that I could rip my head off. Figured that my dad actually was on the couch, and I woke him up. Quietly ran to my room and spared a glance to the couch on the way, but when I looked, the couch was completely empty. I don't know if it's relevant, but I had brain surgery when I was 5 and have had experiences ever since. I've been touched, poked, and seen shadow figures, but never anything as pissed as what I saw that night. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the opportunity to share my story. Bye.
Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you for being part of our world. We'll be back again tomorrow with more of the best in paranormal talk radio. From the Supernatural News Desk, that's Tim Dennis. I'm Dave Schrader. You've been listening to Beyond the Darkness.